damaged buildings.
Down and landed into the third floor and kind of didn't really know what happened, and then I heard some people screaming out which were on the second or third floor and managed to pull them out.
It's the second time in 5 months that Christchurch has been rocked by a powerful quake. September's magnitude 7 earthquake caused widespread damage, but no deaths. While this event wasn't as powerful, it was closer to the city, meaning it caused worse damage.
I don't think we can go past the fact that we may well be witnessing New Zealand's darkest day.
Broken water pipes flooded many streets, and power and telecommunications have also been badly affected. Some services are slowly being restored. Several buildings caught fire and helicopters were used to try to put them out. Emergency workers are trying to free many people trapped in vehicles or under buildings, but the rescuers are reportedly stretched to their limit. Christchurch residents were still rebuilding their lives and businesses after September's quake. This latest tremor has knocked the city back yet again. Azhar Sukri, Al Jazeera.
Well, Hamish Clark is a correspondent for TV3 in New Zealand, and he gave us this update.
Well, we're in the very heart of Christchurch. The Air Force is flying overhead. They are taking satellite photos and video. It appears that a lot of the damage is confined to the central city district, to the tall buildings, to the older brick buildings. It started just out at the port, and it seems to have rumbled through the port, through the city, and it's been very shallow. It was only 5 kilometres underground, a 6.3 on the Richter scale. So although it wasn't as big as the 7.1, it was a 6.3. It was very violent.
Now, we had earlier reports that one of the major hospitals had also been damaged and was being evacuated, and the airport was also closed. If that is the case, or can you bring us up to speed on those particular points?
Well, there's no power in the city tonight. Everyone's been asked to boil the water. In regards to your question about the hospitals, all elective surgery has stopped and only one ward was damaged. But there are other hospitals up and down the country that have made space available, made beds available, so that those that are injured can be medevaced out of Christchurch all over the country. The Air Force is at the airport. We have a number of aircraft there. Also, we have support from Australia and America, and one of the, or two of the big American planes, the C-17s, is sitting out there, and they will be able to help as well evacuate the injured out of Christchurch that can't be dealt with in the city.
It's being called New Zealand's worst natural disaster in 80 years. Communications are still sketchy. Many areas don't have water supplies. And as night falls, about half of Christchurch is going to be without electricity. I'll, of course, update you on all the latest developments as we get it. But for now, I'll hand you back to Foley in Doha.
Thank you very much for that, Divya. Now, it's been more than 6 months since floodwaters deluged Pakistan's Swat Valley. Now, heavy snowfall in the region is making reconstruction efforts that much harder. We'll have the details. And 1,700 days and counting. We'll update you on the plight of captured Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit. Stay with us.
In a new series of one-hour documentaries, Al Jazeera English showcases films from across the Al Jazeera network.
Lebanon, a land with no common history. Listening to the views of students, an important lesson can be learned. How contradictions and inconsistency can cripple a country's development long after the end of the civil war.
Al Jazeera World at this time.
Al Jazeera, Frontline.
The situation is getting increasingly worse. The police is not getting here. People are simply starving.
It had been a peaceful day, but then this.
Many Greeks have deep economic concerns, but there are also groups who have a deep antipathy towards the police.
Once on the ground, the soldiers of Mexico's 94th Battalion continued their mission to find and destroy marijuana crops.
Welcome back. Let's just give you now a recap of the latest developments in Libya. The leader, Muammar Gaddafi, has appeared on state television denying rumors that he's fled to Venezuela and says he is in Tripoli. The United Nations has condemned airstrikes on protesters in the capital Tripoli and the cities of AlJazeera and Misurata. And several Libyan diplomats around the world have resigned. That includes the ambassador to India and 4 diplomats in China. Now, meanwhile, Libya's neighbors are very much concerned about the security at their border with Libya. Let's speak to Al Jazeera's Nazanin Mousheri, who is at Ras Ajdir on the border between Tunisia and Libya. Nazanin, tell us about what's happening there.
Well, there is a steady trickle of people coming across this border from Libya. We have spoken to Tunisians. Around 6,000 of them have come across in the last few days. Many of them say when they have reached the Libyan side of the border, which is about 300 metres behind me, there is a police and army control there. And what's happening is they're being searched, their money's being taken, their phones are being taken, any electrical equipment. The only thing they're being left with are their clothes, basically, and they're pretty angry about the situation. They've told us that they've wanted to leave because of the escalating violence, because of what they've seen, and it's been extremely difficult for them to do so. Transportation on the other side is hard to get. Also, there are a lot of barricades on the roads, not only communities or people stopping them, but also security forces as well. So what they are telling us is they're seeing looting, burning on the other side. There are around 50,000 Tunisians who live in Libya. This is an extremely important border, but what we're being told is it's difficult for them to get across.
So Tunisians then leaving Libya at this stage, and you say that the security is quite tight at the border for them to come back in, actually, in Tunisia. So what are they taking extra measures, the Tunisian authorities, to reinforce that border and to make sure that it's not just that Tunisians crossing that border?
Well, the Tunisian interim government has been holding talks about what's going on in Libya and discussing what to do, really, because, of course, this is an extremely volatile situation, and what they fear possibly if there's an escalation of violence, we could see Libyans streaming across. I have to say, we haven't seen that many Libyans coming across in their cars in the last few hours since we've been here. But what they fear is if the violence gets worse, Libyans who don't need visas could come across here, and there could be a situation here on the border where you have people sort of gathering here and trying to get across. I have to say, we haven't seen that so far. What we've been hearing is things are a lot calmer on the other side, a lot more of a security presence. But what they're trying to do here on the Tunisian side is beef up their military presence. We understand units are coming in from various parts of the country. This is still a country under a state of emergency. Army very much in control of security here.